Why not?
I think we can do better. I think the experience and the things I want to do with it are usually different.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter to me that much that it looks the same as comfortable. You know, I'd rather it work better.
Yeah.
But I'm also probably more of a power user, so maybe my mother would think differently.
Yeah. Well, it gets to the question of context, right? Of where do you use what, and is that basic bet that they placed in a billion-dollar way that the same experience matters, is that bet right or not? At least so far from what I've seen, what they've actually developed and how they designed it certainly moves way past what Apple has these days. And so the other big question to me is, can they make that stick? The whole tile approach, the notion that that infinite scroll is okay. People don't mind that anymore. We don't need to have little surfaces for icons to sit on, all that kind of stuff. We're digital enough now that we can live in that world and that we actually want real-time discovery of things that are going on instead of having to say, well, I'll open this book and I'll open that book and I'll open this book and see if there's something inside for me and maybe I get the little notification. That's a little bit the other big question to me of, will people want more of that? Now, you might say, yes, people will want more of that. Ives taking it at Apple will fix that. And that could be ugly for Microsoft. If they learn from Microsoft, retool iOS in this kind of a way that's more engaging, interactive, and less skeuomorphic, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Other perspectives on the Windows 8 thing of same design across all devices, are they right or are they wrong?
I think the real bet is, does it work on the desktop? Do they really get it for corporations and individuals on the desktop? Then they have a better chance.
Meaning, will people actually buy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when they price it almost free.
Yeah. Right. Other questions? What works, what doesn't work in terms of your product management experience cross platforms? You all must have somehow bitten into that in some form.
We chose Flash, ActionScript, and Air, and made an app for iOS, Android, and the web. And it wasn't painless, but it does work. We were able to sell it on tablets quite effectively.
And how did you deal with the question of are you basically replicating the same user experience across your screens? It's identical. And have you at all thought, is that by choice or is it just because it sort of happened that way?
It was by choice.
Okay.
We designed it for all three users.
But still identically.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Takes over the screen in every case.
Yeah. But the functionality is the same because as we were talking about earlier,
It's perpendicular to all of the types of topics we've been talking about. It teaches kids how to handwrite,
uh-huh.
to print their letters. Works very well with touch, no matter
Yeah,
what
sure.
the basis is.
That's great. Other war stories in terms of what you've tried. Who has actually managed a cross-platform product so far? What's worked? What have you struggled with?
Well, I work here
Okay.
for USAT, so one of the things that didn't work obviously was working with a vendor. So we've spent the last year or so before I joined, rebuilding everything. So
Mhm.
that concept of 2 or 3 years you can build from the ground up. One of the things that I do struggle with the most is navigation right now. So I feel like it does need to be native so that you can kind of move intuitively through
Mm-hmm.
an app. At the end of the day, you kind of just have to trust that folks are using more than just your app on the device, and that would probably behoove them if you're being consistent with the OS. But phone and tablet navigation still is a bit of a tough nut to crack, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we spend a lot of time with our designers working on.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, and so I was playing with the USA Today mobile app,
Mhm.
and I thought it was nicely designed in terms of how it used swipe up and sideways.
iPhone?
iPhone, yeah.
Mhm.
So now, what do you do in terms of thinking about the difference of screens and contexts, if anything? Like, so tablet and phone, for example.
Yeah.
clearly different interfaces. Often one uses Sheets in a way that the tablets use Sheets often, phones generally don't, but
Right,
things like that.
one of the things that we're experimenting with right now on tablet is kind of this, kind of more of an image-driven view, more of a focus on photo galleries and multimedia, video and photo. And even beyond that, I don't know if anyone has downloaded the latest app, but, and Tim Carlson was here earlier, who kind of manages that project more directly. We're kind of switching your view based on time of day as well. So
Oh, cool.
we're giving you, headlines in the morning, but more of kind of a lean back experience at night, which is fun. I mean, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
You can also, take over control of that once you kind of switch from one view that we put you into the other. We no longer do it automatically. But
That's great actually, because it reflects context thinking, right? To
Yes.
say that in the morning I have different interests than I do in the evening.
Right,
Okay.
which I think the OC Register was doing back in the day, maybe like a year ago. They had kind of this
Mhm.
nighttime view of their app. But a lot of our content is really headline driven, so
Mhm.
that's a very simple thing to do on the phone. How do you just get people to their headline lists with the least amount of clicks?
Mhm.
So we just brought on someone in analytics who can really help us dig through, what content types are being consumed
Mhm.
at the highest rate of what point of day. So
Yeah.
we're just kind of starting to build a team around analyzing path
Mhm.
experience. So,
And that's a really important topic that I did not address here, the question of how do you actually understand user intent? Google Analytics is terrible for that, because you can see page hits, but to figure out actually how a person got to a certain page and what the path is that they took. In other words, thinking of everything in your product as a funnel to intended decision points that you want them to take. So you probably have a theory of usage that says, I want my users to touch these 4 things. And how do I actually get them there, and how many actually do that in any given day?
yeah. No, I had a different theory than our CEO, so I dug into that.
Mhm.
As far as whether or not people are, staying within a section, or if they're kind of constantly going to headline lists and bouncing in between our top stories. And turns out he was right. People aren't kind of staying in life and reading 10 headlines and then going through photo galleries, etc. We are kind of that.
Hmm.
We're a scanner product.
Yeah.
So, but it's great to have a team behind us now that we can figure that stuff out and then create better theories around navigation.
Yeah.
More efficiently.
So getting the right product there, even if you don't have a big team behind it, getting the right product to really understand user intent, instead of just looking at page views, uniques and page views, is hugely valuable. My favorite is Mixpanel on those. Works across all platforms, but Kissmetrics and other bigger platforms do that as well. Any other comments before we finish up here? 3 minutes left.
Question.
Yeah.
Just on the success stories and failures, like how do you measure success and how do you kind of quantify and track that if you've been successful in a particular part or a particular platform? And how do you plan for performance from there if in case of failures?
Yeah. Well, the first question there is always, what are you trying to achieve with the product? Some products, especially companion products, you just want them to be out there, free, big adoption. So success there is to say, I'm getting a lot of downloads, I'm getting a lot of hits, and I'm seeing my user intent running roughly the way I wanted it to run through analytics like we just talked about. The other big metric is, am I making money? And unfortunately, in the App Store, that's a big problem, that a lot of people spend a lot of time building apps and don't make any money. And again, the question is, why are we not making money? Is it because there are a billion apps out there, I'm undifferentiated? Does my app actually not work? And so again, to me, it gets to the question of what are you trying to achieve strategically? Of what role does the app or site play in the business strategy as a whole? And then second, how do you actually understand analytically your path towards those outcomes? And those can be, especially in a free app, they could just be engagement metrics. On a paid app, they would be financial metrics ultimately, and sort of trends. But if you don't, this is sort of silly to say in some ways, but a lot of businesses I work with actually can't say clearly what success is to them. And it's sort of all fuzzy, or you go around the room and you get as many answers as you have people in the room. And forcing discipline on that question to say, if I can only pick 3 things that mean success, or if I can only pick 1 thing, what would it be and how would I measure it? Because if I don't know that, and it's remarkable that how many businesses actually run fuzzy on that. You can't get there. The other thing I've seen is that people state their goals very clearly, but then they use fuzzy tools like Google Analytics to actually measure them and never get any good answers. And as a result, it's like, we think we're getting there. As opposed to, did we get there, did we not? Or how far are we off? Or what trends are we seeing that are working against our success?
Yeah, so how do we kind of track that and get better at that? What's not working? How do we kind of identify that?
Yeah,
And then the main thing is what's not working.
yeah,
So if we're not meeting a financial metric, why?
yeah.
Understanding that, how do you do that better? Right?
So there's probably a longer discussion around that, but again, it starts with analytics. Once you have your goals, you need to analytics to actually understand whether you're getting there or not, because you may be and you just don't know it. Then pairing analytics with good A/B testing will actually get you there, in the sense that if you can be clear on what you want, you know how you're measuring it, and when you're not hitting the metrics that you're looking for, that you have agreement within the team and the technical capability to say, somehow this page is not converting in the way that I want. To your point, you had a theory of behavior that didn't stick. Well, for 20% of our users, let's put up a different user experience. And in the same time period, see what the traffic through that is. Is it representative? Does the B version play better than the A version? Then we look at that and we start making business decisions every day of what is our theory of why the B version worked better than the A version. Go back and ask yourself the question, how do we innovate around the B version if it played better? What other changes do we need to make? What investment does it require to really build on that? So it's part an analytical piece, it's part a technical piece, and then it's a leadership thing in the organization to actually have the will to keep looking at that and keep making the changes, which all too often I see the goals being there and even the analytics being there, but then it's too complicated and let's do it next month. I don't know, I may not be answering your question as precisely as you want, but
But I think analytics is important, and we can help people are actually doing that. But I guess we're right on the track of analytics and trying to measure the top one or two things that means success.
well, the very technically, the way a lot of people are doing is that you instrument a tool like Mixpanel, for example. I've used that, so I can speak to that. Is you actually look at your site, or like in the context of the news site that I was talking about earlier. We look at the page and we say there are 4 events on this page that are related to monetization for us. So we're going to instrument those with a tracker, and not just a page level tracker like Google Analytics, but we can say this person clicked on this link and when they clicked it, it had this content. Okay? And we do that on a sequence of pages. And we have a theory again of what conversion we're looking for. And then we watch those 4 or 5 things, and we have reports that we look at all day long every day to say, is this conversion funnel working, in the sense that I get, 60% of my page views are actually clicking that link, and of those 60, that 40% are then taking that next click that I also want. And you're looking at your funnels and you're slicing into the funnels with the metadata that you've pushed onto the events to actually see if people are doing what you thought they would be doing. And the more you can instrument it with a theory of behavior, if you just stick in trackers all over the place, it's not going to help a lot. But if you start with theory of behavior and then instrument your site where it matters, you'll get a very good narrative actually of what people are doing and maybe why they're not doing what you hoped they would. But you have to just look at it on a daily basis at these conversion funnels and see what the drop-off is from every step along the line. Okay, I think we're out of time. I'm here if you want to ask me questions, business cards, if you want to contact me. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Hope you have a good rest of the day.